All right, let's get right into it. There is a massive shift happening right now in the world of data. I mean, a truly fundamental change. We're moving away from data as this kind of artisanal craft, a bunch of one-off projects, and into a full-blown industrial scale process, one that's actually built on trust and reliability. So today, we're going to unpack that journey, from total chaos to ironclad contracts.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever been staring at a dashboard or a report, looking at the numbers, and you just get that sinking feeling in your stomach? Is this even right? If you've been there, you are definitely not alone. For years, companies have been pouring money into data technology, but they're still facing what our source material calls a pervasive deficit of trust. Basically, they don't trust their own numbers, and that is the core problem we're going to tackle.
At the very heart of this problem are two completely different ways of thinking. On one side, you've got the old way, the project mindset. It's all about getting things done fast, hitting a deadline, and moving on. And on the other side, we have this new philosophy, the product mindset. This one is all about long-term ownership and creating continuous value. Believe me, this is way more than just changing a few words around. It's about completely re-engineering how data teams operate.
So, first up, let's really dig into why that old project-based model is just so fundamentally broken. I'm talking about a system that has pretty much guaranteed a landscape of fragile data pipelines and, honestly, a total mystery around who owns what. And that leads directly to that distrust we were just talking about.
Here's a great way to think about it. The old way of doing data is like a really chaotic community pantry. You've got different people just dumping ingredients on the shelves, right? There are no labels, no expiration dates, no nothing. And when an ingredient goes bad, who do you even call? Nobody knows. You wouldn't want to cook dinner from that pantry, and you sure as heck don't want to run your business on it.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because we can see the specific ways this model fails. In a project world, success just means you delivered on time. So of course, teams cut corners and technical debt just piles up. Then the project ends, the team disbands, and all that critical tribal knowledge, all the context about why things were built that way, it just evaporates. And you get this awful throw-it-over-the-wall mentality, where one team makes a change and, whoops, silently breaks everything for 10 teams downstream. We call that data downtime. The whole system just rewards cranking out more stuff, not creating real value.
Okay, so how in the world do we fix this mess? Well, the solution is a pretty radical shift in how we think. We have to start treating data as a first-class product, not just as some digital exhaust that our business happens to create.
Now, a data product isn't just a table in a database. Not at all. Think of it as a complete package. It's the data, yeah, but it's also the code that creates it, the infrastructure it runs on, and all the metadata that makes it understandable. It's this self-contained, reliable, trustworthy asset that's built for a consumer to solve a real business problem. And this table just lays out the difference perfectly. A project has a start date and an end date. It's finite. A product, though, has this infinite life cycle, from the moment it's conceived until it's finally retired. Project teams are temporary, like a special ops crew that gets disbanded. Product teams are long-lived. They stay with the product, they own it. But here's the absolute game changer, the success metric. Projects measure outputs, speed, delivery. Products measure outcomes, business impact, ROI. It's a complete flip from being a gatekeeper to just setting up smart guardrails so people can help themselves.
Okay, so this brings us to a really important question. If you have all these teams building these data products, how do you make sure they're trustworthy? How do you create that reliability at scale? Well, the answer is contracts.
Let's jump back to our analogy for a second. If our data products are the high-quality goods in a well-run supermarket, then a data contract is the nutritional label on the box. It's a clear, simple promise. It tells you exactly what's inside, who's responsible for it, and the level of quality you can count on. It's how you build trust.
And just to be super clear, we're not talking about a legal document that lawyers have to sign off on. No. This is a technical spec. It's machine-readable, often written in something like YAML. It basically works like a software API, creating this stable, enforceable agreement between the team making the data and the people and systems that rely on it.
Every good contract has these key parts. It has a unique identity so you know what you're dealing with. It clearly defines the schema, what the data looks like and what it means. It lays out quality rules, like this field can never be empty. It sets service level agreements, or SLAs, which are basically promises about how fresh and available the data will be. And, maybe most importantly, it lists an owner, so you know exactly whose phone to ring when something goes wrong.
But, a contract is only as good as its enforcement, right? So how do we make sure people actually follow them? There are really two main strategies. Shift left is all about prevention. You check the code for any breaking changes before it ever gets deployed. Stop bad data before it's even born. Then you have shift right, which is about detection. You validate the data as it's flowing through the system, catching issues in real time. Any really robust system is going to use a mix of both.
Let's zoom in a bit more on those guarantees, the service level agreements, or SLAs. This is where we stop talking about trust as some vague, fuzzy concept, and we start engineering it into the system with precise, concrete measurements. You hear these three terms, SLI, SLO, and SLA, thrown around a lot, and they can be confusing, but it's really a simple hierarchy. At the bottom, you have the SLI, the service level indicator. That's just the raw metric, like the data is currently 15 minutes old. Next up is the SLO, the service level objective. That's the team's internal goal, something strict, like we will keep the data under 30 minutes old 99.9% of the time. And at the top is the SLA, the service level agreement. That's the public promise you make to your consumers. Maybe something more relaxed, like we guarantee the data will be available within 1 hour. That gap between your strict internal goal and your public promise, that's your error budget. It's your wiggle room.
Now, when we talk about time-based SLAs, there are two really critical metrics that people always mix up: freshness and latency. Freshness answers the question, how old is this information? It's the time from when something happens in the real world to when the data about it is ready to use. Latency, on the other hand, asks, how fast is my pipeline? It's about how quickly the system can process the data once it receives it. For something like fraud detection, you need super low latency. For a daily sales report, what you really care about is freshness.
So, let's recap. We've got all these incredible, trustworthy data products, and they're all governed by clear contracts. That's fantastic. But how do people find them? How do they actually discover and use them? That brings us to the final piece of this puzzle, the data marketplace.
This slide just nails the difference. A traditional data catalog is like a dusty warehouse archive. It's a technical inventory built for data engineers. A data marketplace, though, is an e-commerce store. It's designed for business consumers. It showcases curated, certified products with clear descriptions, owner information, quality scores, even user reviews. You don't just search for data, you shop for it.
And these modern marketplaces are smart. They're powered by something called active metadata. This isn't just a static card catalog. It's a living, breathing system. It can automatically flag sensitive data, proactively warn you if an upstream product is having issues, help you save money by spotting unused data, and even recommend other products you might find useful. Just like Amazon or Netflix does. It's a total game changer.
So there you have it. That's the whole journey, the industrial revolution for data. We start in this world of chaotic, one-off projects. We transform it by creating trusted, reliable data products. We manage that trust using explicit contracts and SLAs, and we make it all easy to find and use in a friendly, intelligent marketplace.
And that really leaves us with one final, crucial thought. The companies that are going to win over the next decade will be the ones that take their data this seriously. So, you have to ask yourself, is your organization's data strategy built on a solid foundation of products and contracts, or is it still built on sand?